If you want to travel the world, don't buy a couch. Little did I know that these few words would change my life. These words are actually the reason why I'm standing here today doing a TED Talk. 8 years ago, right after my fiancé and I graduated from university, like most couples in love, we were contemplating the next big step. We were moments away from finding our first place together, which, as you can imagine, would need some basic furniture and, home stuff. We also had big dreams. We wanted to someday travel the world. But before that seed had any time to grow, we met someone who said, if you want to travel the world, don't buy a couch. What a weird piece of advice. Of course, we just couldn't get those words out of our heads. Why? What's wrong with owning a couch? Several weeks later, as we were still dreaming of a place of our own, we found ourselves at a furniture store, sitting on, a couch. We were talking to the sales representative who was pushing us to buy it. I'll be honest, it was a really, really comfortable couch. But you see, straight out of college, we had no money. Neither of us had a credit card. We were renting a room at a friend's condo, which was already furnished. So the salesman, realizing we were broke, offered to put the purchase on store credit, meaning we can take the couch home now and pay it off later. This is the lure of the magic piece of plastic called a credit card. You can get whatever you want today and worry about the consequences in the future. That was the final straw to our wake-up call. We realized that very day that buying the couch for us will be the first step to living in debt, driving us to fill a new apartment that we didn't want, with stuff we didn't need, with money we didn't have. Were we really about to take a $3,000 loan for some furniture? Would a couch make us happy? Would then more couches make us more happy? This downward cycle of consumerism and debt was a path that we vowed never to follow. Long story short, we decided to not buy the couch. Instead, we sold and donated everything we didn't need, saved up $3,000, and for roughly the same price of a new couch, we bought a 50-year-old sailboat, destined for the scrapyard. A huge project, and our new home. By the way, we had no idea what we were doing or what we were getting ourselves into. We had zero sailing experience. We spent a full year just getting that boat to float again, living on ramen noodles and fiberglass dust. We removed the broken diesel engine and built our own electric system using a forklift motor that we found on eBay. And after a lot of determination, sweat, maybe a little bit of tears, and a single $20 bill left in our wallet, we set sail into the unknown to start a minimalist life on the ocean. Our goal from the very beginning was to gain the freedom to live sustainably and travel indefinitely. And a sailboat, to us, was the perfect solution. Now, living sustainably is often misunderstood as a lifestyle that requires sacrifice, that you must give up everything you love in order to be environmentally friendly. For example, thinking that eating healthy requires sacrificing the tasty foods that you've grown to love. Living minimally requires sacrificing all your material possessions. Going electric requires sacrificing range. Living on a sailboat requires sacrificing space. And although these are often marketed as sacrifices, it's only one side of the coin. Sure, you might need to let go of a few things, but what you gain in return is freedom. The freedom to live a longer and healthier life. The freedom to not depend on material things. The freedom to be self-sufficient and not depend on fossil fuel to move around. The freedom to travel at your own pace. As a society, we are often so scared of what we don't know that we grasp onto what we're comfortable with. But of course, it's not easy to let go of our stuff when all of our lives we've been told by books and magazines and TV and ads that we need them to be happy. But you see, fear is the enemy of freedom. Fear simply shows us what we have yet to learn and where we lack understanding. So, was I scared and nervous after Dana and I gave up everything we had, put all of our money on a sailboat that couldn't even float and had zero clue what we were doing? Absolutely. I was terrified. But when faced with a hard choice, I often tell myself, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It was really hard. It was challenging, terrifying at times. Yet we were so determined to start this new life together that we made a choice to not be overwhelmed by the bigger picture and negative opinion. We decided to let go of that fear of the unknown and use it as motivation to step out of our comfort zone. We knew we weren't going to cross oceans on the first day, of course. All we had to do was learn the necessary skills to sail to the horizon, which, if you think about it, it's only 5 miles away. Once we make it there, we can focus on the next horizon, and then the next, and so on. Ultimately, the couch is no longer about a physical item. The couch represents being trapped in a lifestyle or routine that we feel we're forced into, whether it's by peer pressure or an ideal imposed by advertisement. It's a mindset. And it can take several forms for each of us, and it can become uncomfortable to step away from. While don't buy a couch may sound like a sacrifice, it was a catalyst of the realization that material things would not make us happier. It allowed us to step away from that pre-scripted life and letting go of what other people told us we needed. It also gave us the freedom to explore new places, learn new cultures, share our story, be part of worldwide projects, create our own revenue stream so that we can keep moving forward, doing what truly makes us happy. So, living sustainably, it's not just about going green anymore. It's not just about our environment. It's about finding sustainability in all aspects of life: mental, physical, financial, emotional. So Dan and I have been living on our boat for the past 7 years now. And during those years, we gained a deep appreciation of all the resources that we consume. Our boat is electric, so we generate all the power we need and energy we use from the sun and wind. We can create our own drinking water from the ocean. We can catch our own food, although we're not really good fishermen. So we do our best to buy locally sourced products. In other words, we found ways to independently cover our basic human needs: food, shelter, clothing. Well, on a sailboat in the tropics, clothing is often optional. But I'm not here to tell you today to go and live off-grid. I'm not telling you to go build a log cabin in the middle of the woods to grow chickens and raise crops. Wait, the other way around. Grow crops and raise chickens. I'm definitely not here to tell you to live on a sailboat just because we do. Because me telling you to go and live a specific way will be no different than someone else telling us to buy a couch. You see, the solution isn't for more people to go live off-grid. Instead, we need to strive towards a grid that we don't feel the need to live off of in order to be sustainable. This past year, we've been sailing up the coast of Norway, an oil-producing country, yet 98% of their electricity produced comes from renewable resources, mostly hydropower derived from the rain and melting snow, something Norway has a lot of, as we've discovered. And during the winter, we often plugged into docks and marinas to charge our batteries, because over the winter, in the Arctic Circle, there is no sunshine, so our solar panels were not very useful. But although we were still plugged into Norway's grid system, we still weren't burning any fossil fuel or emitting any carbon into the atmosphere just for heating our boat. It was as if we were living off-grid, but on a country-wide scale. Now, our micro-ecosystem that we created for ourselves is far from perfect. There is a lot of room for improvement, and we still need a lot of outside input to function. But we're constantly evolving and testing new systems on board, not to increase our comfort, but to increase our capability, and in turn, increase our freedom. Because instead of burning fossil fuel today and worrying about the consequences in the future, if 100% of what we consumed we generated yesterday from renewable resources derived from the sun, water, and wind. That will be the true definition of a sustainable grid. Are we there yet? Of course not. But it is an ideal worth striving for. We look up to our leaders to inspire us, but the truth is, it is not up to them to do something. It's our individual choices, the little decisions that we make every day, that will bring about the change we need. It's opting for the food that is not wrapped in plastic. It's knowing where our food comes from. It's choosing reusability over disposability. It's using the resources that are available to us rather than going into debt for them. And finally, it's simply being aware of the energy that we consume on a daily basis, but understanding where that energy comes from. These little decisions may not seem important, but they are the steps that will carry you to that horizon. They are the steps that will inspire those around you to live towards a better, healthier life. And in turn, strive towards a grid that you would not feel the need to live off of. So, you sitting in front of me and those watching at home can start now with the simple daily exercise of finding specific steps you can take to build new habits. I see notebooks. Write them down. Create to-do lists. Make a goal to journey towards. Embrace being uncomfortable and let fear show you where it is that you lack understanding. And let's each of us decide today to start taking actions that will lead us to the freedom to live sustainably, the freedom to not buy a couch. Thank you.